open single league products, because I always found that was my worst return on the money that I spent. It was the worst value. So I started to only open the products that were multi-league, i.e. the Champions League, or Obsidian, where it's, tops now, UCC as they call it. In the past it was just it was UEFA Champions League. It wasn't all of the different sort of European tournaments. It was just Champions League, and then they added in the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. So UCC products now, that's where I typically go on the top side of things, and on Panini's side it would be Obsidian, those types of products, just because you get the best teams, the best players all in one place. But like you said, Premier League, really and truly the chase always was Cristiano Ronaldo. That was it. That was the chase. There wasn't anything else to go after. So yeah, it's that, I completely understand where you're coming from there. But you spoke about the silver bars, mate. Once upon a time, you couldn't get a silver bar for less than 130, 150 pounds. Now you can see them for 40, 50 quid. So even that,
it's almost metal value, isn't it?
Yeah, even that part of the market isn't what it used to be. So, right, let's do a bit of a weekly roundup. My weekly roundup is going to lead on to the first talking point or main topic of conversation this episode. So I'm going to let you run first with your weekly roundup. How's this week been for you? What's been happening? You mentioned these new products. How have they been taken? How have they gone down? And is there any other little nuggets that you've got for us that happen in the world of Collectible Corner this week?
Nah, mate, the world of Collectible Corner has been a busy one this week. We've had a really, really good week. Like, we've had some crazy cards being pulled on streams. Like I said, we had the case of Impeccables coming in. They've gone in and out like a flash. As always, we get some stacked and packed repacks in, gone. They were in and out as a flash. I've got like 2 teams left on soccer squads. Of the 45 repack boxes I've got, we've got like 2 left. Again, as soon as they're coming in, they're out straight away. Everyone, people may not know that are listening to this, but they are, if they're in my streams, know I'm a humongous Leaf fan. We've been pulling some beautiful cards from Leaf this week. Literally, the night that we're recording this podcast, we hit a /10 match worn patch Pele auto from one of our Leaf Ultimate Soccer boxes, and just like a Pele auto /10 match worn shirt patch. If that's a licensed card, what are we talking?
Yeah, crazy money.
I
I was watching along before this episode. I saw the Batigol 1 of 1 as well, which was nice.
Batistuta 1 of 1. It's just like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm a huge Leaf fan. For my personal collection, for ripping, I think it's as long as people get what it is, it's a brilliant product. And, we've been very big on it. But I think that's a whole nother topic for another episode. I can go on. I think we need to talk about licensed and unlicensed at some point. I know we don't going to have time tonight, but another show, I think that's going to be a great conversation I really want to dive into. And that's going to be me versus you a little bit. That's going to be another one of those. But no, it's been a really busy week.
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
It does, mate. It does. And I've owned and still own some Leaf cards, but like you say, you find. I feel like Leaf, you find your place with it. There are some Leaf cards that I haven't got in my collection yet that I'm still chasing. One of which is the retro game artwork of Mike Tyson, the boxing game. That I want that with his auto on it. I think it's a fantastic card, that. And let's be honest, because Leaf can play a little bit at times, sometimes their artworks are fantastic. They come up with some absolute gems because they can. I feel like Panini and Topps get really stuck in a particular style, design type. They don't stray too far. And every now and then they'll have a little play with certain products, but it's normally the lower end products, the serious products. They don't want to upset the apple cart too much, so
I get that.
Always stay safe.
Deco, they'll get creative, and gold, they'll get creative, but chrome and prism will stay our course.
Which I actually quite like. So again, we're getting onto other topics of conversation. My weekly roundup, really ups and downs, I would call this week. We've had some really positive things happen, and Yeah, just some really nice response from communities and from people who've been involved in what we're doing. I've really enjoyed putting together products for the teams that don't normally find products. So, as you mentioned, soccer squads earlier, the Stacked and Packed working on Nottingham Forest and working on teams like that. I've really enjoyed it because
Mm.
I'm looking forward to giving those collectors something that's for them and something that's really nicely put together. So, and we've now literally had all the stickers and the boxes um, delivered for every single team in the Premier League, for all of the big European teams, and also Celtic and Rangers. So we've kind of got that full
And Spurs?
collectors. What's that one, mate?
You said big teams. I'm assuming and Spurs.
Nah, he loves it, doesn't he? You can't argue no more. They're European champions, mate. You can't argue with them. Their expressions will tell you it's all the world of football has changed. That's thrown a right spanner in the works, that has. But yeah, so we've been doing some really nice bits. I've been enjoying it. But one of the big down points, and this we're going to roll into the first topic of this episode. Talking point number one: Repack breaks, what they are, how they're formatted, why they're different to a typical break. And this leads on from my stream on Friday night. We had a really good stream. Thought everything went really well. Was really enjoying
Incredible
it.
cards, yeah.
Everything was really well received. But because we hadn't, that was one of the first streams we'd done in like 4 months. So we'd only just gone back on the platform. So where previously we'd got up to a point where we was doing breaks that had a value of £4,000, and we had growl boxes in there that were £1,000 or £700, and we had a lot of undisputeds and so on. The highest value box that we had in this break um, basically was only a £250 level box, and it made all of the spots just more affordable. So because we hadn't streamed for a while, didn't want to go crazy, didn't want to put the super juicy products in it, wanted to make it nice and affordable. Everyone can get involved. Everyone had a good chance of hitting something nice. Yeah, that was what I thought was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, we got to the end of the break and we had a comment where somebody said that basically they felt that the hit card, which was a Freddie Lundberg, PSA 10, Pop 1, numbered to 25. That was the card that came out the most expensive box. Now, from my point of view, and I had a chat with everyone else, the 100 in a PSA 10, which isn't a Pop 1 because there's more of them. So
Of
obviously there's
course.
going to be more of them graded. Sold for about $120, so £100 ish. So that was the number to 100. This was numbered to 25. I said it's probably roughly a £300 card. The person who wasn't very happy with the overall break said that it was a £60 card. So a bit weird. Sort of brought it up on screen, showed everything. Then they said they didn't realise that it was numbered. They thought it was a base. So there's a lesson here that I think you really have to make sure you know the card before you make comments, because it can be really quite damaging to people's businesses, to people's livelihoods, to people's streams. It just doesn't leave a nice taste. And even if it's all done, forgotten about, and apologies are said in chat, it just ruins the whole. I don't know. You're trying to create a good atmosphere. You're trying to get a good vibe in the stream. It can just knock that a little bit, and it is a shame when that happens. So I think if anyone wants to jump in and comment on particular value, and some people there are out there and they're not offering value. I've always stood by the value that we offer as part of our hobby fair play initiative. So it was impossible for us to put a £60 card in that box
Yeah.
because it wouldn't have met our hobby fair play standards. So it couldn't have happened even if we wanted to do that. But the overall opinion was basically that if that was the biggest card that came out in the break, then the overall value of the spots didn't seem worthwhile. So we quickly went away, done some calculations, and we looked at what everybody had hit. We had 20 spots in the break, and 15 people went away with more value than what their spots were. Now,
Wow.
I would struggle to find any break out there that would offer 15. So, 75% of the spots go away with more than what they paid. I would probably say that if we're talking wax products now, I would be very surprised if 20% went away with more value than what they paid into the break.
I think that's probably a really fair percentage. Like if you're doing a chrome hobby box, you've got one autograph. That autograph might be enough to take you over, it might not. And then you've got 4 numbered cards. Realistically, only one of those is going to be to 25 or less if you're lucky. And that's going to be the only one of those cards that could potentially take you over, unless you're hitting a Yamal to 99 or something like that. But I think realistically, when you enter those breaks, you're very much shooting in the dark of being the one to hit. And I think that's, that's a very, very fair assumption. I think 20% is quite strong. Sometimes with something maybe like that can increase, but the value of the box needs to increase and the value of the spot needs to increase and your chance of hitting needs to reduce. If you're doing a jumbo box, you've got 3 autos, 5 numbereds, you're going to have a better chance. But then again, the value of your spot's going to increase because the box price is doubled. So I think you're right. The likelihood is when it comes to wax products, I think 20% would be a good return, to be honest.
Yeah. And let's be honest, there are many, there would be a percentage of wax breaks that no one goes away with more than
It
what they
has to be.
paid into
Yeah,
a
yeah,
spot.
1000%. It has to be.
So the fact that you can enter breaks and no one goes away with more value than what they paid, yet in every single one of our breaks, typically between 40 and 75% go away with more value than what they paid in, just shows you how powerful a repack break can be. And it is because that products that are going into that all have, like you say a lot in your stream, a hit card. There are no poor value flaws in what we do. So if you've got a repack break and there's 16 boxes in there and there's 20 spots, okay, someone might double up, a couple of spots might double up, but pretty much 12 to 13 spots are going to hit. And every single one of those boxes, say the minimum value box that we put in is a £30 box, you're pretty much guaranteed to get a minimum of £30 value. Then if you go up the level, it's 50, 79, 100, 200. So everyone has got such a strong chance of actually going away with something. And we always try and make sure, we also have a rule that we're not allowed to put in players who have left the club that were not considered a sort of cult hero, not necessarily a legend, but a cult hero. So I think that's really, really key as well, that we always try and make sure that it's a liquid card. It's a card that a collector will want.
Yeah.
It's not an Anthony who's left Man United and gone out to Real Betis, and there's a bit of ill feeling there. Do you know what I mean? We always try and avoid that as much as possible. So we're always trying to make sure that it's things that people actually want. It's things that if it's not your PC, that it's pretty going to be well received if you try and sell it, and you're going to find a buyer for it. So repack breaks for me, I think, are always the way forward. I think there's always a higher percentage of people going away happy or with value. So I was really shocked. But what I would say is that I do understand that some people enter a break for the sort of glory of hitting a 101 superfractor Messi or hitting or whatever. And I understand that. And if that's what you're going for, or if you want to make sure that there is going to be a £500,000 card in there, just make sure when you read the description of the break that you're entering does have one of those premium boxes in there. But again, what I've said to you, and I've said it to a few people who have asked me questions about repack breaks, the way repack breaks work, or any break to be factual, is any break, is that wherever the value goes, it's been taken out of someone else's pocket. So if somebody else clears up and does amazingly well and 10x is their investment or what they paid into the break, generally that money has come from other people's pockets and gone into theirs. So, I always like it to be a little bit fairer and nicely spread. We have had some, because everything's picked at random, some breaks where, like last Christmas, for whatever reason, loads of Man City cards weren't getting picked out of the cases
Yeah,
we were opening. There was loads of City cards left, and I can't remember where we hit 8 or 9 cards out of the
it's
20 boxes
crazy.
were Man City. But that has to be the upside as well. So the upside is there that you can go on a crazy run, that you can. I mean, he must have been over £1,000 up on his investment. But like we said in that break, so many people, where I said, 75% went away with more value in the last break we did. In that break, because one person has cleared up all of that, it meant that maybe only 30% of people actually went away with more value in that break. So you can't have it both ways. There isn't a magic pool of money that's created that you can go and give to someone. The reality is, if lots of people do well, it's spread out across the board, was in terms of value. If one person clears up, generally it means a lot of people have been skunked. So, yeah,
I think it's a good way of doing it. I mean, I think we spoke the other day about, a good way of describing a repack break is the way it works is a big pool of money comes in, and if the average spot price for easy maths is 50 quid a spot, £1,000 goes into the pool. That £1,000 is going to be redistributed at varying levels and chunks to different people that have purchased in. You might get 3 people that get £100 back, you might, and etc., etc., till that £1,000
yeah,
is redistributed. And this is why I believe in repack breaks, because that money that comes in is redistributed back out. Whereas when we sometimes look at wax breaks, that £1,000 that comes in, £200 of it will be distributed back out again, and the manufacturer, Tops, Panini, whoever, get the 800.
yeah,
That's the big thing. Sometimes with a wax break, that big chunk of money that gets redistributed comes out. Now, don't get me wrong, they probably need a lot of those 800s, because in that 1 in a million box, the Lamine Yamal Superfractor Auto comes out, and someone has gone in, and that £1,000 that was pulled has been paid out at £100,000, or whatever fictional number we want to use.
mm,
But I think it's always come down, for me, it's that risk and return. It's that if you want to chase the wax, you're chasing the glory, you're chasing the crazy, crazy cards. The chances are way lower. With a repack break, it's a great way for people that really love being in the hobby to get cards out of the hobby into their collections and stuff like that. And the way we do it, where you can choose your own teams, you can nail on and say, look, I'm a Spurs fan, I want Spurs cards. And when these hits are coming out, they're going to be stuff that's relevant. And I think you made a great example. We make sure it's always players that at clubs, West Ham fans aren't going to get a Declan Rice.
yeah,
It's not going to happen because you can't move it. It's all well and good. Oh, we've got a to 5 Jan Oblak auto that's worth 200 quid. Right, one of them might have been worth £200, but where's the other Jan Oblak collector that's going to buy
yeah,
the other one? Because the one person that's rainbow in Oblak has it now. So that's the great thing about it. The cards that are going to come out are always going to be liquid, they're always going to be moving. And I'm such a believer in these repack breaks. I think they're fantastic. It'd be the only thing I broke on our channel, honestly. If we could keep up the supply with the demand, it will be the only thing we break. And honestly, I'd love to be getting to the stage where that's where we're at.
yeah. It would be nice,
In
and like we
time to
said,
come.
people will just go away happier. I mean, I've seen so many people in the past who are used to, entering things where they haven't got fair return on value, and you can quickly fall out of love with the hobby when it's like that. And
Yeah, I think
that
you will.
can be from ripping bad product, ripping any product and just getting unlucky. It can be from getting involved in things where just there isn't true value, or people are keeping the value for themselves. But we are trying in every way that we can to, and we put the pressure on ourselves. So how everyone will say, well, how do you make your money? Well, the way we make our money is by buying extremely well. Our margin comes from buying at a massively reduced market rate compared to comps, but in massive bulk. So we have to put a lot of, investment in or capital in at any
Yeah,
one time to do the deal. But that's where we can get our margin. But it does mean that we don't have to go and get a base card PSA 10 and shove it in a product when it's worth a tenner, shove it in £100 box and take £90. We don't have to do that. We can go
right.
and buy that £100 card that's in the box, but we only paid 50 quid for it. So we get the 50 quid by having bought that card at 50% of its market value. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to buy exceptionally well so we can pass back equal value to what people are buying into our product. So look, it can't always happen like that, and sometimes there has to be a little bit of variation from that. But in the most part, we see it as our responsibility to buy extremely well to deliver value. Right, that's repacks marked off. Anything you want to add to that, or are we good to move on?
No, but I think we're good to move on. Like, so the only thing I'd add to it as well is I know people like the wax, and when I do my breaks, I always try and mix the best of both worlds. We'll have a prison box and repacks, so there's
Yeah,
guaranteed hits coming out of that break, but we can still chase that worldie and hit that one of one Wanyeri auto or something like that,
yeah.
And I think that's a great way of doing it, is mixing the guaranteed hits with a repack with that luck and chance that's going to come with the wax as well. And I think that for me, that's the perfect formula that I've found. It's that best of both worlds, as Miley Cyrus would say.
No, you're right. And we're this Friday, we've got another break that's coming, but we've mixed it in with Impeccable. So we know that Impeccable is expensive. We know that there's not many cards. Doing that on just an Impeccable break, so many people are going to go away unhappy. But we can mix in repack product at such a good price that we're going to mix. So we're going to get at least 8 people going away really happy from the repacks, plus a couple will go away happy from the Impeccable box. Plus we've added in a choice box, so that will make a couple more people go away happy. And we've added an EPL select. So all of a sudden, the way that we've put that together, so many people are going to go away happy again. So definitely the mix of both is a really nice way to go about it. Right,
Beautiful.
moving on. Tops and Fanatics. I mean, so much is going on in the world of Tops and Fanatics at the moment. Um, yeah, the hype is real around everything that is Tops and
Yeah.
Fanatics at the moment. One thing I'll give them credit for is they've certainly generated a lot of interest and a lot of hype around the things that they're doing. And something that you've been very sort of active with on your channel this week's logo fractor. Talk to me about how the logo fractor's gone down at Collectible Corner.
Mate, Logo Fractor's been booming. It has been our fastest selling breaks that I've ever put in store. I'm not necessarily known for breaks. We tend to be a lot more rip and ship and stuff like that, but we always have breaks available. We maybe do one break a night with rips in between. We did 6 Logo Fractor breaks in one day. Like, that's crazy for us. It's a booming product. The hype is there. I think Logo Fractor had the ingredients to be product of the year. It had the potential to be product of the year. Now, you can already see where I'm going with this because I've used the word potential. I don't think it achieved what it could have. I think when we saw F1 Logo Fractor come out, now F1 Logo Fractor for me is one of my favorite products I've ever ripped. I think it's one of the best products that Topps have produced in the last 5 years. It's fantastic. The cards look incredible. Everything about it is right. Was it 3 numbers a pack, four numbers per box? Whatever it is. When you think in a hobby box, you get 3 numbered cards, but in this logo fractor, you're getting 4 or 5. It's crazy to me. And every single one of them looks beautiful. I just think the UCC logo fractor missed the mark a little bit. And I think that on 2 cases. The first one, it's a glorified Starball. Like, we've seen Starball refractor for the last few years. And I just feel like it's a little bit too much like that. I feel like if they'd have done the balls like the diagonals along the lengths diagonally, like we had the F1 logo, it had just looked that little bit sweeter. And only because they've released Star Balls before do I feel like this. Because we've seen that patterning. It's not new. It feels recycled and bundled together into a new product. Now, I still like it. I love ripping it. I think the cards look fantastic. We've pulled some unbelievable cards from it. And, you know, everyone that's hit those cards, rightfully so, should be absolutely buzzing. I still love it as a product. I just feel like it missed where it could have been. And that for me is my only gripe, shall we say.
We're going to get the first flash of Frankie being on one here and being very honest. It doesn't look good. The Star Balls don't look good. They look cheap. They look childish. They look trash. The logo Fractor from Formula One was the best looking card design that I've ever seen. Ever. I will put a F1 logo Fractor up against, go and find any card in the hobby, put it up against the logo Fractor from F1, and I would struggle that the design, I think you'd struggle to find a better design. It was fantastic. It almost looked like carbon fiber. It was just carbon fiber with F1 print. Incredible. It looked adult. It looked serious. It looked just smart. It was timeless. Everything about it, it blew me away. I thought it was fantastic. This Starball rubbish was lazy, typical soccer nonsense that they do to us, winds me right up. Every other sport seems to have a level of care and attention and seriousness about it, and you mug us off with football every single time. And I was properly disappointed. And I'll be honest with you, I was seeing cards pop up as it started to get opened and so on. And I was waiting to see a logo Fractor card. Little did I know that I'd been seeing them, and I thought these were the standard like parallels or something. Star Balls were like no value products that nobody has liked and nobody's given any attention to for the past couple of years, and they feel like it was a good idea to release this brand new product that everyone was raving about and copy the design of something that nobody has ever been interested in. I can't get my head around it, mate, and I just don't think they look good at all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Honestly, it's the one thing I've always said about you, mate, is you always hold back.
I think I do. I'm very
you never share your
tick
opinions.
about
Just get
things.
off your chest, Frankie. Do you know what I mean? Just get off your chest, mate. You know, just
So yeah, I mean, I can't deny the hype. You know, they've really pushed it well. People have raved about it. But it ain't hard with soccer products. You put soccer products like that together at that price point, and people are always going to be in. And like you said, the breaks are selling, but it's a chrome product at the price of Elite. Of course, people are going to love it. Of course, people are going to want it. You didn't need to try that hard. But give your opinion as well now, Rich, on because of the hype, up goes the price.
Right, this is probably as scary as you'll see me. I'm not as bad as Frankie. You know, I'm a little bit calm and more mellow. This is something that annoyed me. So I was in the Fanatics store on Friday. Obviously, I have to be. It is a store exclusive product, which is something I'm going to come back to in a minute. Remind me. And we went in, and the product is on the shelf at it's a £90 a box. All right. £90 a box, maximum of 5 per customer, not an issue at all. It comes to around 3 o'clock in the day. Oh, we're sold out. Okay, you're sold out. That's it. You know what? We always knew it was going to be a short run product. Fair enough. They've sold out. You go on Instagram at 10 a.m. the next morning. Come and get your logo Fractors in store now. Just £115 a box. It was £125 a box. And I'm like, well, hang on, back in stock. You were sold out yesterday. And we've had, what, a 30-40% increase in price overnight? And it's the store doing their dynamic pricing that is a real problem for me. Now, I don't like dynamic pricing. I don't agree with it. Some people who regulars listening to me from Collectible Corner will know I don't jump my prices with hype. I don't do it. I set my price. That's the price because that's what I charge it. I make my cut that I'm happy with. I don't need to charge more. I could charge more, but I won't. Because it's selfish. It's greedy. Selfish and greedy is exactly my problem here. If you set a price at a product, you've agreed that sweet, well, let's produce this at this price. We make enough money. Fantastic. The licensing's cost us this, the printing's cost us this, the packaging's cost us this. That is our cost. This is what we make enough of a margin on. Beautiful. Let's push the product. Oh shit, this is selling like wildfire. This is crazy. Let's bump the price up by 40% overnight. And it grinds my gears. And it's the second time that I'd seen it in a couple of weeks. They had a £60 or £50 price increase on Chelsea Lineage. It hadn't been out 48 hours. It was selling like hotcakes. So, let's bang the price up. And it just really, really annoys me because your average collector that's just walking along the high street, they're going to walk into the shop. They've got no idea. Let's be honest, they've got no idea what the price was a couple of days ago if they're very casual. You could have new people trying to come into the hobby. They've got no idea. They're casuals, and all they're doing is they're seeing the price and they're thinking that's right. For me, it's just so wrong. Take it to a completely different context. During lockdown, everywhere was sold out of bog roll. I don't see Audi doubling the price of bog roll because it's selling out quickly. No, it just restocks and then it's back on the shelves again. I went into Asda the other day to go and grab my daughter some strawberries. They'd sold out of strawberries. I went back the next day and there were strawberries. The price was the same. I don't get the whole price increase. Yes, these things are popular. You're at a retailing point. It's a retail shop. I don't know anywhere else which sells out of product. And yes, they go with the argument of, well, the aftermarket dictates. Brilliant. But look at these branded clothing shops. Someone like Supreme will charge a crazy premium for their jumpers and they'll charge 900 quid for a jumper drop. They're $3,000 on eBay the next day. They're not going to then produce more and charge £2,500 themselves. That's not what you do. And I don't know, maybe it's just me and people in the comments are going to say, shut up, Rich, you're wrong. That's fine. But I think there's also a lot of people that are going to kind of see it from my point of view that you can't flex the price yourself.
Yeah, no, you're right.
To suit. It just grinds my gears. And then how will we out of stock and then back in stock the next day? And that's I don't know. It's a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. This dynamic pricing and everything like that. It just feels like greedy and selfish is my
No, you're
view.
spot on. You have to be so careful. And we said earlier about product, and that the product price point has gone up so much, and the aftermarket is so low that we're not seeing fair value coming out of boxes anymore. This will always cause that. So why can't you produce a product at a fair price point that you make people to go to your store because you want people to buy more when they're there? That's the only reason you do it this way, because you want people to walk into the shop and spend more money than if they were just ordering the box online and it was turning up at their doorstep. So you're using it as a footfall driver. People are spending more in store. Why can't they go away with a product that was fairly priced for a change, actually get good value out of it, might be able to cover some of their travel costs that it's cost them to actually go and pick this thing up, and everyone wins? Why have you got to then, you've finally got a fairly priced product, everyone's seeing it as fair value, and then you just go there, right, we'll just bang the price up. And like you said, while Supreme may produce things that can sell for £3,000, they have things that sit. And the problem with doing it like this is that once the hype dies down, what do they then do? Drop the price again. Like you just have to stick. You have to just stick with the price that you priced it at.
It's true.
Maybe the store exclusive caused them an issue in a sense that people on their Breakers Pro, and let's be honest, day one, who actually went to get logo fractor boxes? Mostly breakers, online streamers, people who would normally receive product directly. So they're the people who went and bought it all up. It wasn't a rush through the doors from the average collector. There wasn't loads of people who buy one hobby box a month with out of their wages going up to making a special trip up to London to buy these boxes. It was all the breaks. So they've all bought it up. They've all sold it online. They're all back up there again. They're all trying to buy their 5 box maximum, but working out a way to play the system to get more. They're the people who've bought it. This should have been something that was passed on to a normal collector, something that didn't reach the hands of breakers first. Do you know what? I almost wish they would have just shipped a load to breakers at 90 quid and priced it in store at 120 and just left it at that. If this is the game they're going to play, just don't do store exclusives. Give your breakers the cheap price, have it in store at one price. Job done. I just, yeah, for me, I don't really understand it.
Well, for me, it's another problem, and this is my thing. Is like, I don't like the idea of store exclusives, especially when you have one store. That's a problem for me. If you're a chain like Smiths, who've got stores nationwide, Game, for example, they do certain blasters which are Game exclusive. Perfect, because everyone in the country can access it. Someone that's living in Liverpool, Leeds, the only way they can buy these boxes is on the aftermarket. They can't travel all the way to London just to buy a box at retail. It's literally forcing the aftermarket, because the actual percentage of collectors in the UK that can get into London to buy one is small. So that it actually creates a problem which people don't like, and people, don't get me wrong, a lot of boxes they buy and they jump up in price. But this is, overnight, this doubled in price. The market dictated that this was 160, £170 a box within 24 hours. Because actually spending an extra 70 quid per box is cheaper than getting the train into London to buy them yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with it on that sense, to be honest. It's a box that, maybe has 20% slapped on it in an online store or something like that, but it's not that, because the market is just going to send it to the moon. And it is a shame that I don't know, with a product like that, some things I think are fine. Like when they did those Regency cards on the first week, where if you purchase something from the store within the first week, you got a Regency card, and it could be a numbered parallel and stuff like that. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, nice.
That is a really nice little thing to do. Awesome as a store exclusive, because it's a numbered parallel. Okay, I was quite lucky. One of mine, I got a to 10 Vinicius Junior. Fantastic. I'm buzzing with that. That's really nice as a freebie with my order. That for me is a store exclusive, not a box which everyone is gonna want. That feels wrong,
Yeah.
and yeah, it becomes a little bit annoying. And obviously the availability of products as well. I remember when they had their store in Westfield, they had Logo Fractor on the shelf. You couldn't buy Logo Fractor online. Again, it was forcing people to come in line to get a product. But what blew my mind is a product that released on the website at £50 a box was on their shelf at £180 a box. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's 3.5x.
And this is just tying into more of the Fanatics attitude at the moment, that nobody in the hobby should make any money other than them and people on their breakers program. It's like it's trying to be so monopolized, and they're literally suffocating so many areas where people who aren't the manufacturer actually make a few quid and try and earn a living out of the hobby. They're doing everything they can to make that impossible. And that, one thing I really struggle with is when a hundreds of millions of pound turnover company try and suffocate an average Joe, putting a mortgage over their head, a roof over their head, sorry. They're paying their mortgage, looking after their children and putting food on their family's table. Why are they getting themselves involved in any way that somebody else is making money out of the hobby at the moment? I really I don't like it. I don't like it. The buyback program, trying to get involved in the aftermarket side of the and get involved, and that's that that affects us directly because we're obviously, buying on the aftermarket and buying to put product into our repacks and so on. So they're getting involved there and taking that market. If somebody's finding a product where they can sell it on for a few quid more, they're trying to stop that. Let people eat. Like, what's the problem? Why can't anybody else make money in this hobby other than Fanatics now? I don't get it. And yeah, I understand it. Get everybody to want to sell their soul to Fanatics. But I just don't think it should be like that. There's always been monopolies in this hobby, unfortunately. If people, haven't seen this side of it before because you just, enjoy the hobby and collecting and whatever. But there's always been little cliques and little monopolies. But we've done well to break a lot of those down, and it had got better. But I fear at the moment we're going back to full control and people not being able to, try and earn a living. So not good. Probably the product hit was pulled today. I haven't had a look at too much of the noise. Don't know whether that will see a little bit of the hype die down, maybe a little bit now the product hit is out there. Messi, 1 of 1 Superfractor. Tell us more.
So we were actually live at lunchtime as well, while the Prime boys were live. Now I got on really well with the Prime boys. They were doing their 10-box break of Logo Fractor, and literally I think it was the last box they opened before they went off on holiday. Out pops the very weirdly rose gold, is it? I don't know what they're calling the 1-of-1s from this set. The rose gold Lionel Messi autograph, 1-of-1. Obviously the product hit. Maybe the Yamal 1-of-1 auto could be classed as, but it's Messi, isn't it? You look at the sticker and the controversy is back. Now, obviously, those of you that aren't aware, there has been big controversy in the hobby recently because it came out and was basically confirmed that Lionel Messi's brother was signing a load of his autographs. So the way it works is they basically post out a wad of sticker sheets, basically say you've got a set time frame, get these returned to us, and that's what then ends up going on the sticker sheets. Obviously, Lionel's decided he doesn't want to do that, whether it's an ego thing or a schedule thing, I don't know what it is. Turns out his brother has ended up signing a load of them and returning them. Now, as a result, we see very, very different autos. Trying to think, this is a podcast, I can't really show the differences, but if you just simply Google, Topps Messi fake auto, you'll see a very, very prominent difference. Now, what was really, really sad to see was on this autograph that came out today, it was not a genuine Lionel Messi auto. It was a brother autograph. Now, what's even more frustrating is that is the second 1-of-1 from this season with a fake one on. The Chrome Superfractor had a fake Messi autograph on it as well. And that is, do you know what? I'm going to throw it in there allegedly. Let's be safe, let's be safe. Allegedly fake. Obviously I can't 100% confirm, but the rumor mill strongly within the hobby from people that have been doing this a very, very long time is saying that is in fact the case. And you can see very distinct differences from the autographs that were being produced before the rumor mill started and after. And what's strange is I had a look today and we were talking about this in our group. We've got a little WhatsApp group and some people were sending pictures of theirs and someone had a to 25 Messi auto from this year's Chrome. Perfect. It's the same autograph we've been seeing for years. It's exactly the same as the one we've been seeing for the last decade coming out on these beautiful sports cards. And then you have a look at some of these other ones that are popping up and you just see an obvious difference. And what stresses me out is if it is the case, again, let's double down. If it is the case, why are they still being put out into the hobby? It blows my mind because if it is the case, the manufacturer must know. So why are we still doing it? And even if they are going to play the game of still doing it, why is it the 1-of-1s that are taking the hit? I'm looking at a to 25 with a very obviously perfect one. And then these very skeptical ones are the ones that are appearing on these 101s, and it's really stressing me out a little bit. I'm not quite sure what's going on.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter whether or not it's confirmed or not confirmed. There's enough doubt in that the one that is supposedly the non-genuine Messi Auto, if you look at sales of those cards, they definitely go for less than the ones that have what people consider his actual autograph. So the market is determining whether or not you should treat them the same, and they're saying no. So that product, as I said earlier, I genuinely think that that card is a $20,000 card, but if it had the genuine, supposedly genuine autograph on it, then it's a $50,000 card. So that could be the difference between how that, and it's a $30,000 difference. It's significant. It's a lot. You're not going to be sitting
home
there.
ownership.
Well, yeah, but you're not sitting there gutted that you've hit the card. But in the back of your mind, you must be thinking a little bit, I wish it had the sticker that people are happier with, because that's what it boils down to. The people are happier with the other stickers. So yeah, tricky one, tough one. And like you say, if they do know and it all comes out that they know, it will be because these products have been printed and manufactured post that situation coming out. So before you could say, well, it's never been raised before, nobody had noticed before, it wasn't a thing, so you can't blame the manufacturers. Well, everybody kind of knows now the difference. What they're determining is one or the other, and the manufacturers are very, very well. You know, they know the situation. They could play dumb, but they know. And yeah, the fact that they're still going ahead with this stuff is
concerning.
Interesting.
I think the biggest thing they need to do is, if it is the case and they know it is the case, front it up and go, do you know what? An error's been made. Send them in the same way Futera did with the error cards that they had. You know, they had the ones that were misprinted. Very simple. If you have a Messi Auto that you don't believe is, send it in. We'll replace it with what we know to be.
Just reminded me, Rich, this is not on my list to talk about.
Ooh.
Not on my list. I found a really interesting one recently.
Go on.
But there's a big eBay account that sells on-card aftermarket autographs. So they've basically got the card, taken it to a player, had it autographed. Have a look at this off stream, or anyone who's listening to this, go and have a look. Go on eBay and look for Gabriel Arsenal autos, and go and look for Gabriel Martinelli autos. There is a massive crossover of Gabriel the defender and these on card. If Topps and Panini have been using the correct Gabriel defender autos, then this person who supposedly got them signed in person, Gabriel Martinelli, is actually Gabriel Martinelli's signature and not Gabriel the defender. There's another one that's going to come out there because I've seen it and I've seen the two differences. And this is what, when you're sad like me and you're looking at eBay 24/7, you spot these things. But
we've seen it before. I mean, again, some people that have been in my stream for a while will know I very recently had that Cristiano Ronaldo auto error. You know, we had the R9 to 5 from Deco Auto with a CR7 autograph on the sticker. Like, it happens. Things like that, it happens.
Yeah, but you know why it happens, Rich? Because they employ people who have no interest in the hobby. All of the companies do this. It's not just the manufacturers. I know you can't go and employ every hobbyist. I mean, we'd all love it because we'd all have amazing jobs. But I know you can't necessarily go and find every single employee that's got a massive interest in the hobby, and I understand that. But come on. I mean, if you're employing somebody who's in charge of the autographs, who doesn't know the difference between Brazilian Ronaldo and Portuguese Ronaldo, we've got big problems. And I wished
they're not even similar autographs.
They're not even similar. And yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just crazy, mate. So it does make you wonder. maybe they need to start recruiting through hobby channels and actually finding people. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are sitting on whatnot who would rather go and work in the autograph room of Panini. Like,
It's
you know,
fair. Yeah.
so employ hobby people, more hobby people, because it's that these mistakes are too frequent, they're too often, and they seem to pretty much be common sense, to be perfectly honest. Anyone who's anyone, even if you've only been in the hobby 5 minutes, or even just have a genuine passion for sport,
That's it.
you should know the difference.
I think you're right. I think you're right, mate. I absolutely do. And, you know, it is good that, I think sometimes, as Joe blogs, will very easily be able to sometimes make that mistake. But as a professional, you need to be able to. And I think, you know, ultimately you look at the ultimate professionals and someone like PSA when it comes to authenticating and things like that, they flag it straight away. And I think that was the big shout of when we first found out about this Messi thing, was when PSA first started refusing to grade. There was a couple of cards that were being sent back refusing to grade the autos because they went, we're not sure, so no. That was when it first started rearing its head. And just talking about PSA, maybe a good chance to
Yeah,
get them
we'll roll into
tomorrow.
PSA. Funnily enough, I've just been sitting here trying to do the Messi L loop myself. And funnily enough, I do it exactly like his brother does. So it's just quite interesting. It's quite a fun little thing to do. Just
It's actually
try and do
Cuban's
the
been
L.
signing them.
Yeah, it might have been, mate. Don't tell anyone. But it was quite fun doing it and seeing how it comes out. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Okay, mate. There's a couple of extra topics, but we're reaching the hour mark. Let's go with just one more. Let's go with PSA. Run with PSA for me and tell us what's been going on over there.
Yeah, so I mean, PSA is an interesting one. I think PSA is fascinating. Obviously, we've got yourself with a grading background. Obviously, based off of the delays that came through lockdown, led to you starting up your own grading company and everything like that. But I think PSA is always such an interesting topic because they are the market leaders. They are number one. I think last time I looked, it was something moronic, like they do 700,000 cards a week, which is unfathomable. That is 100,000 a day, assuming they're working 7 days a week. That's a crazy amount of cards that they're doing. I think the next closest to that was SGC at 80,000. They're 10 times bigger than the next competitor, so they're the ones. And it's going to be another thing for me. We're just going to talk about the greed and the selfishness again, because one of my biggest gripes in this hobby is PSA upcharging. Now, for me, it really gets under my skin because you're charging for a service. What I put into that service shouldn't matter. If I'm going to a car wash, I expect to pay the same price for my car wash whether I'm driving in a Ford Mondeo or a Bentley. I'm still using the same products, the same people doing it. It's the same sort of service that should be delivered with the same equipment. Upcharging really, really annoys me. Now, they can try and use the example of, our insurance price, premium needs to be covered. You're covered regardless. It's not, your coverage should be uniform on that aspect of we won't damage your card. That should be just a very basic coverage. But you start hearing crazy things about people upgrading cards. And I heard about a crazy one. There was a Wembenyama, rookie Wembenyama, and the base card raw was valued in the six-figure bracket. Just a raw card, it was valued in six figures. It was sent off to PSA. It came back a grade 6. Now, again, chat amongst yourselves. To me, that means it's a raw value card. The grading does absolutely nothing. It's a raw value card. They were charged $30,000, or so. No, it wasn't $30,000. It was something moronic. It was sorry, forgive me. It wasn't that much. Was it $6,000? I think it might have been $6,000. It was the bracket was 30K. Sorry, they were charged $6,000 for the grading because the card is worth over $100,000. But they haven't even attested to that value. They haven't added any value to it. But because the raw base product itself was worth that much, now graded in our slab, it's worth this much. Well, it was worth that much anyway. but they're still going to try and take their money there. And it's a real gripe for me that, again, people are just trying to take your stuff and monetize off it. And it's very similar. I've got a situation where I very recently purchased a Sir Alex Ferguson signed 2008 Moscow Champions League final program. For me, the Holy Grail, Champions League final win, the first one I properly remember, signed by the man himself. Beautiful. And I said to the guys, this was done in a private signing. I said, if I give you something, could you sign it? And I said, well, what is it? I said, I've got a ticket to the 1999 final. Could you get him to sign it? How much would it be? And they said, oh, I'd have to find out. I said, well, surely it's just a set price. I said, well, no, because what we're doing is we're creating a very unique piece that's going to have a big value. And I said, well, how much is it to sign a shirt? Oh, about 250 quid. I said, all right, well, let me know how much it is to sign this ticket. He came back with £900.
That's mad.
But why? You're still just sliding an item in front of the man and asking him to sign it. But because you're now creating a one-off piece that is valued at 5k, you want your slice of the pie. For me, that's just so wrong. And again, people may disagree. People will see their side. But it's just you're charging for a service, and the upcharging is a real thing for me, and I feel like it's just a money grabbing opportunity. And on money grabbing opportunities, this new cleaning service that they're offering now, I've known cards be turned away and refused to be graded because they've seen that it's been cleaned. Very famously, the true black Wembenyama 1 of 1 was sent back as a no holder because it had been classed as altered, because it had been sent to Kurt's care. He cleaned it up with his product, and because there was a YouTube video of it, they had evidence it had been cleaned. They said the card had been altered and refused to grade it. Okay, so there's factual evidence there that they do not accept cards that have been cleaned. You now go on their website for $2.99, they will clean your card for you before grading. Now, they claim it's simply wiping it down with a microfiber cloth and removing any fingerprints or surface marks. If that's not the biggest hypocrisy I've ever heard, I don't know what is. If there's a fingerprint on that card and you're removing it, are you not altering that card? You yourself, as a grading company, are changing the condition of the card as it came to you. Simply. That's hypocrisy in my eyes. There's no other word for it. And all I feel like now is, unless you pay that extra $3, you've got no chance of getting a 10. I'd love to see how many people get a 10 who don't pay the extra $2.99.
Shall I tell you a secret, Rich?
Go on, mate.
Digital Grading Co. used to charge £2 for card cleaning.
£2. Wow.
That's what we used to charge. So here's my little take on this, which might be a little bit different, okay?
Go on.
I would say that when we used to grade cards, 80% of them, 80%, maybe more, but 80%, I'm going to go conservative, needed some sort of clean to get the best grade. And that was literally just a wipe with a microfiber cloth, as you said. Now, there is a big difference between bathing a card completely submerged in card juice, which we've seen happen on these things, sticking it in and I'll be honest, because we had to do a lot of testing as a grading company, we had to do a lot of testing. I actually tried every way to try and get, and I've used Kurt's card cleaning kit, I've used their surface cleaner, I've used their pads, I've used a humidifier. I've tried everything to try and get the best results from, just because I wanted to see what it was all about. And we had to do this sort of stuff to put it through our AI and see if our AI could detect any of this stuff, because it was part of what the hobby were doing. So we've tested it ourselves. I disagree with putting a substance onto a surface of a card. And actually, you can actually see that when you try and buff a card with that product, the feel, the texture, the lamination of the surface, it changes. It isn't the same. But funnily enough, quite often cleaning the back of a card can expose more print lines or machine lines than if you just leave it as it is, you know, out of the box or whatever. So it is interesting, and because we wanted everyone to get the best possible grade. We did, because we were
Yeah,
quite, because it was done with AI. We were quite strict. We were stricter than PSA. So a lot of we had cards that we graded like 83 and listed the reasons why and could see it on our scans that have gone to PSA and got PSA 10.
crazy.
And we've gone, how is it possible? Look at this. And we've even pulled the scan up that we've scanned when we graded the card and gone, look, there's no way that can be a 10. It can't. So, you know, and that person didn't clean anything. That person just cracked and resubmitted with PSA. So they didn't do any alteration to the card whatsoever. It was just, I don't know whether they were having a nice day or the grader was not paying much attention or whatever, but it should never ever have been a 10. So we spent so much time trying to make sure that fingerprints weren't on there, trying to make sure that we give, you know, any little surface mark that might have already been on there. It's so surprising when you open the amount of product that I have done in the past that they just need a tiny, tiny little bit of love. It's not a lot. We're not talking about needing a kit and needing buffing pads and needing wax products and all this. None of that. I'm just talking, just get rid of that. You know, get yourself a pump, an air pump, and get rid of any like dust that might be on there or speckles of whatever. You know, if there's, you sometimes get these little circles, and don't know what causes them. But you get these little circles, just the tiniest little brush over, and they come away. So you just, you know, a little bit of attention, and this is the problem. Sometimes people, and especially when I first started testing different things, it's easy to damage your card. So easy. So if you're not confident in cleaning it, or you haven't got time, that £2 could be a very, very good investment to say
Interesting.
the time it would take me to sit here, get it under a light, look at it. So I got a little bit more sympathy for the cleaning side. I mean, we ended up including it in our price anyway. I feel like somebody like PSA with the amount they charge could certainly include it in their price anyway. Um, but the upcharges I've certainly got a problem with. You're doing the same job, exactly the same job, same time, same everything. Why should that, you know, cause these massive fluctuations in cost just because something is worth a little bit more? And how often? So last week, if you had submitted a Due card, it would have fallen into one bracket.
Yeah.
At the stroke of 10 o'clock on Champions League final day,
Yeah,
all of
absolutely.
so now all of a sudden you're charging what 10 times for that car. I just, yeah, you can't. Again, we keep talking about the aftermarket. Stop punishing people in the hobby for what happens in the aftermarket. It's none of your business. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't want to try and attach to it or bleed any more money. You're already multi-million-pound businesses. Whatever happens in the aftermarket, let it be, and
Once that card is
charge what you
beyond the
feel's right.
box, you know, once the card is beyond the box,
That's it,
it's
mate.
it's
Exactly that. Right, let's
it's
leave it there, mate. Thank you very much, everyone. We've gone over a little bit of time, but it was needed tonight because we had a lot to talk about, and that was a perfect ending. Rich, anything you want to say before we go?
No, just a blind. I'll tell you what. I think the only thing is, I think this week has maybe been a little negative. I feel like, honestly, next week I'm coming in rainbows and unicorns, mate. There's going to be
Love it.
nothing but positivity from me next week. But no,
Mate,
honestly,
you can
wicked
only
chat.
talk about what's in front of you, can't you? That's the thing.
But this is it. Yeah, maybe it's been. That's it. I'm going to find the positives. I'm going to
I
find
love
them.
that.
That's going to be it. But no, really, really interesting week. Really, really awesome chat this evening, mate. Thank you so much. Everyone that's listened, appreciate it as well. But yeah, awesome one. Thank you.